Good morning, afternoon, evening or night, whenever you're watching this, welcome. This video is being filmed near the height of summer. It is hot and humid, the plants are thick on the ground. The river level is actually very high after a considerable amount of rain. I don't think it rose quite high enough to cut new portions of cliff face out of the old municipal dumpsite here, and across the river somebody who might possibly be one of my oldest and best friends is doing something noisy with power tools. A chainsaw, I think. But I am here, and against all the adversity I'm hoping to find some interesting things and have fun down by the river, up on the slopes at the base of the cliff face, and maybe at the beach downstream too. Interesting, somebody came through here from the small beach, not the usual way down. And the beach is, of course, underwater. Looks like this might have become a new popular access path. The paths here do change with almost every flood, and the recent rains probably count as a flood. Would have been up as far as the top of my waders this time yesterday. That's enough to shift some things and wash the lower reaches of what has already dropped from the cliff face, not enough to carve new material out. Right next to the path, it's a horseshoe. Not something I find often, and certainly not here. Quite corroded, and actually it's very small anyway. Might not be for a horse, perhaps a pony or a donkey shoe. And it's got a small slug on it, which I will carefully remove onto something tastier for it. Now onwards to the cliff face, and I shall soon see how busy it is. I suspect there's at least 3 people there already from the different footprints. I won't willingly film them from any distance at which they can be recognised, not without their permission. I can see 2 people. My first find of a cliff face is, I guess, this, a fairly heavy slab of verdigris which I think was once a brass hinge. If I can clean the mud off it and dissolve it in sulfuric acid and electrolyse it with a high ampage low voltage power supply, I can get pure copper out of it. And a little brass ring. This is quite nice, reminds me of a Chinese lacquered cabinet that was in an antique shop I used to visit, without ever knowing that it was owned and run by the grandparents of my best friend at school, the same friend who is currently doing an apprenticeship with the National Trust, and may well be the person running the machine that's making all that noise. Ugly noise, but beautiful trees and water. Dangerous today, won't be wading much, just at the fringes where there's gentle swirls, rather than the very strong today main current. And I've got permission to film distance shots of the bottle diggers who are here. Never actually seen anyone digging straight into the cliff face before. It's not bad conditions for it, the soil isn't too dry or too sodden. Don't think she's in much, if any, real danger. Battery, I think. I will probably take it. Yeah, gonna end up hauling a lot of lead weight out of here today. That's nice, a nice flat piece of willow pattern plate, and this I shall take too, for either Frankenstein monstrosities of female creation, or to give away to other mudlarking crafters. Well, that was unexpected. Not that I met another mudlarker, it happens quite often here, but that I would settle in for a half-hour conversation with a stranger, who is now a friend. And while talking, I found this figurine of a dancer missing almost everything but the curve of her back and the flowing of her dress. And my new mudlarking friend gifted me this precious little dog. Might be a weird whimsy which I used to collect a long time ago, and I also spotted some copper wire, and the chainsaw seems to have stopped for now. It was a pretty good conversation really. And over by my back there is a vase in American, broken of course, but wonderful colours. Wish I had room for things like this, but it is big, it needs work, it is not a project for me. The chainsaw has been replaced by a strimmer, higher pitched, more irritating. Summer is not my favourite season. This is an interesting piece of pottery, and this has faces. Little classical portraits, a Roman-looking man and not really Roman-style woman. I wonder if I could cut these out for pendants. I'll take it. And this piece is such a weird shape, almost like a kidney dish. I have found a few items. Eau de Cologne bottle with embossed writing on it, fancy. There is a flamboyant swirl in which there is a number, 4711. Found this early plastic thingamy, think it was a handle off something, maybe a toilet flush handle, maybe not. And I don't know what I'll do with it, but I do really like the colour. A few more bottles. This is just a strong nostalgia thing for me. My mother had some of this range in her collection of pottery things. The best piece by far was a music box teapot in this style. This piece, she didn't have this exact one, but I'll still take it. And this. Wow, twisty bit of Victorian gas pipe. I don't know why it would have handles like that. Maybe it wasn't for gas. Anyone know? Lead toy. Looks like. Not sure what it is. Let's give it a wash. Oh, okay. It's a bird, missing almost everything. That's a shame. I'll still take it out of the river, but it's probably too far gone for display, so probably scrap pile. Any more lead? Has to be very close to the edge. I'm not going far in today. I think Diane is going to attempt getting across the gap. I will too when I'm done in this little area. Just a bit of brass tubing. We may be here on the wrong day. Another 24 hours and the water level will be half a metre lower, and we'll have washed and sorted things a bit. Diane's gotten across and she's found some copper, which she's kindly on the lookout for me. And I hope that's just a shoe. No resident skeletal foot bones attached to the leg bone attached to the hip bone. Okay, let's do this. It doesn't look anywhere near as sketchy as it sometimes looks. In fact, it doesn't look like being any more difficult really than when the clay is superficially dry. Sounds like that helicopter's coming back. I'll have a look around and bring you back when I find something. Button. Slippery little thing. Glass, milk glass with perhaps a hint of pearlescence. And apparently it's not a slippery little thing, as I said, I'm just clumsy today. This is unexpected. A log made of lead, or lead alloy, and made to look like it's had branches cut off, has a flat bit for it to lie on. Struggling to imagine what toy set it would have come with. Probably not the usual farm animal set. Could it have been from a model railway? A marble. And not just any marble, but one with swirls of colour and a fine filigree net of milky glass in the centre. That's really quite beautiful. And I think that this will be my gift to Diane. She's been hoping to find a marble today, hasn't found one yet as far as I'm aware. I do love finding marbles, but finding is the thing I really enjoy, and having isn't as important to me. Guardians of this last small stretch of accessible dumpsite, what treasures are they protecting? Well, I ain't never seen something that looks like an ink bottle containing something the lurid colour of yellow kick uranium before. Well, okay, it's not quite as orange or golden, it's just paint, and not likely to be too nasty, unlike that down there. Which I would not consider taking, even though I know it's bad for the environment. Radium paint, horrifying stuff. Buddleia, an unruly bush that for some unfathomable reason reminds me a little of Sideshow Bob. It's a firm favourite of butterflies, though none around here today. Staves of a barrel, and looks like maybe half the barrel accounted for. Wow, this piece of glass is very reminiscent of the comb of a Portuguese man-o'-war. Makes me want to make one, somehow. A model of one, made of resin and set in resin. And I found a big brass gas tap, which seems less interesting now I have a craft idea bobbing around in my head. Golden shred marmalade, and this is the brightest, clearest paper label I've seen come out of any dump site, and I don't think I have the skills to preserve it, but I won't develop them unless I keep trying. And I would probably take this too. I'm a sucker for lenses, I rarely leave them. This one is quite pointy. Wonder if it came off a 50s style of a car. That poor young oak tree, still holding on, will be gone too soon. Why does that copper actually look like copper? I see, it's red enamel lacquered. Haven't really looked into how to strip that off the copper. Presume it's possible with some chemical or something, maybe acetone. Oh, Tizer. Still made today, still not to my taste. The bottle stopper though I'll take. It's in better condition than the example I already have. Ah yes, mustn't forget the copper. Oh, a cute little isopod. Gentle creatures, detritivores, and there is a lot of detritus here, though I don't know how much of it would be to their taste. My foot, buried, has got me wondering how much else is buried in this huge pile of loose soil. It all comes down off the cliff face over the year or more since floods cut out the base, and there is a lot in this cliff. I think the layer is close to 20 feet thick. Most days I wouldn't really want to get this close to the cliff face, but it's not the right conditions for bits to fall off it today, unless I were to start picking at it, which I'm not going to do. Wow, that is one of the most vibrant examples of iridescence I've ever seen, outside of a puddle with a film of oil on top. It's one form of glass sickness, and the other main one is on this piece of glass too. I don't think I could do much with it, so yeah, going to have to leave it. This piece of pottery, not sure what it's from. It's got fragments of Latin, and one of the fragments says moo. Is it childish of me that makes me smile, or wisdom? In the words of Willy Wonka, a little nonsense now and then is relished by the wisest men. So many little baby fish. I hope they're happy and healthy and not too troubled by us humans. This is the work of one of the 2 bottle diggers that were here when I got here, some scraping of the surface and a few fairly small incursions a little deeper. It's a well-chosen spot, no dangerous-looking cliff above, and I don't think it significantly encourages erosion. This cliff face crumbles in any extreme of weather. She does seem to have gotten quite a lot out of a fairly small dig. I wonder if she found much that she actually took. Her partner was digging elsewhere, and he found at least one fairly nice cod bottle. Had to shift a lot of volume to find it, though. A little lid of something. Why is it that I am drawn to simple things like this, and not particularly to the intact cup? Which is certainly a miracle of survival, but I just don't want it. Anything up here that I might want? Lytia, brilliantine, jasmine. These bottles are a huge pain to clean. I guess that's why it's been left. This, though, I guess the bottle digger doesn't know the joys of making crazy additions to broken figurines with Fimo. I do, though, and this is perfect. Oh my gosh, flashing across the landscape, a kingfisher. Don't really want the piece of Johnny Walker ashtray. That, though, looks like a spoon. It is, and not just any spoon. It's the right shape to be a World War I standard issue soldier's spoon. And maybe beneath the crust there might be a soldier's ID number, maybe even several, though that is always a bit sad. Little doll's teacup, missing the handle. I think it's going to be a head. Yes, from a figurine rather than a doll, but kitten caboodlers can probably do something with it. I remember seeing photos of my mum and my aunt as young girls, and they had similar haircuts to this. Fashions change, some come back. I don't think this one will. My eye keeps returning to the river, hoping to see a flash of the kingfisher. One last look around. I find some of my best finds when I'm making moves to leave. Except, of course, when I say that that's what I'm hoping for. Then, of course, I find nothing. Anyway, won't stop me looking as we wend our way off a cliff face, up the hill, along overgrown paths to the beach downstream. A bit of modern plastic, probably blown here on the wind, and I'll remove it. The river level has dropped since I arrived today, about 6 inches I think, and that means that more than half of the beach is above water. Hopefully none of the baby fish got left high and dry as the water receded. I'm moving languidly through the water, giving them ample time to avoid my steps, and I'm pretty sure I've never actually stood on a fish. They move fast away from anything they think is a threat. Looked interesting, just a leaf. Now I'm going for an initial wander, seeing what of interest catches my eye, and I will not linger the camera lens on most of the plastic that I do intend to pick up. I'm going to fill my bag with it, but first I'm just going to enjoy the wonder, the fishes, and anything that takes my interest. Bucket. I never seem to have quite enough buckets at home, and I probably have more than most people. This one, though, has dozens of pinpricks of light showing through it. Can't see any of the holes on the outside. They are quite beautiful. These very temporary offshoot tendrils of the river will be gone in a few more hours as the water level drops, and the thousands and thousands of tiny darting fish will be forced back into the main channel. Some blue and white. Of course, it's willow pattern. Still nice though. Some wire, a power cord. That drawer is from a vault or safe, lockable, or once was. How it ended up here is unfathomable. Might have come from the dumpsite or dumped in the river by bank robbers. That looks kinda nice. Pressed glass, but good condition, and I think it might be a topper from a decanter lid. Not necessarily very old, it might have even paired with a plastic stock part. Paste jar, tenacious survivors of dump sites and rivers, will probably be the last recognizable relic of humanity after we're all long gone. Sorry, that is quite a dark line, isn't it, to come out with on such a beautifully sunlit, semi-flooded beach. Ah, that plastic wrapper. I will grab it now, because it's small enough that I might miss it when I go around again, filling my bag. Another bit of willow pattern, and another piece of plastic that I could easily miss. Now I look around for something nice, because it's surprising how often I do spot something nice when I've just picked up some litter. There it is. A wonderful, beautiful peacock butterfly. Now, I'm not suggesting that I saw that butterfly as a causal result of picking up a plastic bottle. I may well have spotted it if I'd left the bottle, but it helps somewhat to keep me motivated in the face of overwhelming amounts of plastic pollution if I take a look around when I've picked up some trash and find something nice. That then kind of ties the two things together. It is genuinely born out of a noticeable pattern of finding nice things when I have gone out of my way to pick up some trash, but that's because it was there to be found. If I looked everywhere closely, not just where the plastic is, I'm sure I'd find a lot more than I do. Quite a difference, isn't it? Up at the cliff face, the river was unfriendly, with a fierce current and the water muddier than I've ever seen it there. And here, down on top of the beach, and admittedly away from the main channel, it is amber, clear and calm. Lovely to wade in, and it does somewhat make up for the fact that this beach, or rather the finds that land on this beach, are but a pale shadow of the bounty that awaited me the first time I set foot here. I didn't think I was going to find anything interesting on this beach today, and then I found this. It's a tusk, and I think it's from a wild boar. It doesn't have any indication of butchery, nor any particular indication that it came out of the dumpsite. A wild population of wild boar in the area would be quite something. Don't think there are any known breeding pairs in West Yorkshire. This river does come down through part of North Yorkshire, and I think they have had some sightings. A vulcanite bottle stopper. Briggs. GB. Not one I know. Leeds. That's why I don't know it. Might be only 20 or so miles from here, but drinks brands were more often than not very local, back when these were used to stopper bottles. I love this yellow lichen. I know it's probably quite common, but I don't see it flourishing in many places away from this river. It is time to go. We have searched the beach, and there is enough left of this beautiful day to visit another location. So Diane is going to kindly show me around a site that I've been meaning to get around to visiting for the last 6 months, and that, I think, will have to be the next video. So, bye for now. A roundup time? No, not quite yet. A little seasonal interlude. Halloween is almost here. I did try hard to get a Halloween-themed craft video together. Unfortunately, neither my PC nor my laptop seemed capable of dealing with the very large files from my indoors non-mudlarking camera, so the work was on an external hard drive, which died a most horrible death. One of my oldest friends has had more success in getting some artwork ready, and I would like to show you one of his pieces, not because he watches my videos, and he did not ask me to do this, didn't send me anything for free. I bought a print because I saw it and liked it. I'm a little bit dark in my art tastes, and monstrous creatures hold an all-year-round sort of aesthetic appeal for me, not just for Halloween. This makes me smile, so I plan to get it framed and hang it in my craft room. Graham and Abby have an Etsy store. If you like this almost as much or even more than I do, or even if you just have enough curiosity to want to see more, then by all means follow the link that I've put in the description. And if you have friends who produce any type of art, then I hope you look at it, listen to it, digest it, and acquire some of it if you can easily afford it, and really do want it to grace your senses and spaces. Art almost never makes artists rich, but it does make almost everyone's life richer. And now for roundup time. That site is going to have things to find for many years to come, in greater or lesser quantities, dependent on how much time has passed since the last extreme of weather. I've been there before when it was very dry and dusty, heavily picked over, and I still found one bottle worth taking, a nice blue poison. This visit was much better than that, with quite a range of things that appealed to me, but it was nowhere near as good as it became the very next day, once the water level had dropped another 60 centimetres. A friend of mine went then and found a lot of really nice little finds in that 60 centimetres strip. Such is life. I was invited to go along too, but far too tired after my visit the previous day, and my subsequent visit with Diane to another site lasted another few hours into the evening. I take my rest and recuperation seriously, and I don't really regret missing out. And did I really miss out? I don't think so. I had fun, whatever the finds. I got some things for projects. I hope I can successfully cover faces from this candlestick with my Dremel. I don't think they're especially nice for jewellery, but it is good practice. Practice for cutting and shaping pottery for a craft project. I'm hoping to build a blue and white pottery paved bird bath. What are the chances of two such similar dancers being found on the same day in such a chaotic site about 7 meters apart? They're not quite the same, a slightly different pose and obviously missing different bits. I think the smaller one is the one that I'm likely to do something with. I haven't done much figurine augmentation since I gave that nice footless figurine of a lady some tentacles more than 2 years ago now. This figurine has lost her head and one of her arms. Suggestions for what I could give her as replacements are most welcome. I was thinking maybe I'd give her back her human arm and the head and wings of a raven, but I'm not firmly settled on that. Some things don't need projects, they can be historically interesting or kept as mementos of good days, and this little dog is one such thing. He shall go on a little shelf alongside a very small ceramic mouse that I found when I was at that same site, in roughly the same spot actually, with Nicola White, also a Victorian cake decoration in the shape of a skeleton, and squashed horse, both of which I found on the beach downstream. It was lovely meeting Diane. Most mudlarkers do seem to be quite lovely people. If perhaps you're watching Diane, then thank you for this lovely little dog. I hope you still like the marble and the clay pipe from the other site. This boar tusk interests me, because there haven't been any recorded sightings of wild boar in West Yorkshire for centuries. They were hunted to extinction in the UK during the 15th century, and have only relatively recently started to spread again from a few small reintroduction programs. I don't know for sure that this came from a wild boar. Might have been farmed, might be a misidentification. Wild pigs have tusks too, or might have come down the river from North Yorkshire. The known sightings of wild boars in North Yorkshire were actually far more easterly than this river, so it's a bit of a mystery, one that I may never receive a solution to. But I hope I live to see many more formerly persecuted and relentlessly hunted species return and thrive. None of the bottles I picked up and brought home cleaned up nicely. That's sadly the common state of things at that site. Thankfully, or maybe not, the next site was much kinder to glass, and I had a bit of a binge on bottles there, as well as finding some other nice things. The spoon is the right shape to be a standard First World War soldier's spoon, but I don't think it is one. I cleaned it up as far as needed to see that there is not a soldier's ID number engraved in the handle. I might be a little relieved, really. I have one that has 3 soldiers' numbers. It was inherited twice during the course of the war, and that is quite a sad to contemplate object. Regardless of whether it is or is not, this spoon is perhaps the only thing of copper or brass I found on that day at that site, but I don't intend to destroy with fire or acid. It's not that some of it isn't vaguely interesting or historically valuable, it's that all of it is very, very heavily corroded, and about half of it has no metallic forms of the metal left in it. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, and if you want to, then any appreciation or complaint that you wish to express is greatly appreciated. A big thank you to everyone who has expressed appreciation. The options for doing so are numerous. There's just watching my videos, pressing the like button, subscribing or writing a comment, replying to somebody else's, sharing, which apparently doesn't even need to really be shared. I heard recently that just copying the link fools the algorithm and makes it think that a video is far more worthy for it to share with more and more people. It all helps. There's always a big thank you to all other kind people who have donated through Ko-fi, super chats during premieres and super thanks on video pages, through purchases too on my Amazon wish lists. It has all made such a difference, incalculable in scale. Thank you. And of course I thank you all very much for watching, and for now, goodbye.